Alright, so I had an idea. One of your classmates said instead of gluing, they're taping in their fractions. I thought I would give that a try because, for one thing, for fractions greater than 2, what you're dealing with is a much bigger sheet of paper, and if I flip it up, I'll be able to access underneath better to give me more space in here because these are much larger than the unit fractions for sure, and definitely larger than the fractions greater than 1. So now I have these. These, I'm going to do the same thing. Put these there. Yep. See you in a second. If I can just find the pause button. Ta-da! So, start with the halves, of course. If you remember, the way we addressed fractions greater than 1 is we counted the halves. 1, 2, 3. 3 halves. Well, here you have 3 halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. So, and I don't have to. Well, I'll write it anyway. So, 1 half. Yeah. Plus 1 half. Plus 1 half. Plus 1 half. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 1 half. Now the thing is, just as you do with addition, you can say 1 half and a half and a half and a half and a half is all 5 halves. But instead of repeated addition, you can also do multiplication. I have 5 halves. And if you write this, 5 times 1 half, it is the same as 5 halves. They're both equally valid and acceptable. Okay? Your preference, I mean, whichever you prefer is up to you. However, you will have to know this as much as you will need to know this. Because the other thing is, these, right, it might not be 1 half plus a half plus a half. They may say something like, what if you have 3 halves plus 2 halves? That it's still 3 plus 2 is 5, right? But you only add the numbers above the fraction. Above the denominator in a fraction. 3 plus 2 is 5 halves. And notice over here, you didn't say a half and a half and a half and a half and a half is 5 tenths, right? You don't add 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The denominators in all these, you don't do anything with them. So 5 halves, and again, 5 halves, if you remember, you have 2 halves, which is 1, plus another 2 halves, which is 2, and a half. And that equals 2 and 1 half. And I'm on some tape. That's a bad thing about tape, or drawback. Drawback about tape is that. Fortunately, I might have a permanent marker in here, so I'm covered. Boop. 2 and a half. So where are we? I'm gonna put a box around that, except for where the tape doesn't let me. So there you go. And 5 halves, 5 halves. They all equal 2 and a half. I guess I can do 5 halves is 2 and a half. Okay. I'll do thirds, and then we'll end it there. Thirds are the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 thirds is what we're gonna end up with. And you can do 7 thirds as a sum of unit fractions. 1 third, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's a lot of thirds. 1 third. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's it. 7. So when you add up all these thirds, you have 7 thirds. And 7 thirds, as you can see, once you have 3 thirds, you have 1. 6 thirds is 2, plus another 1. So, again, I'll separate them. So 3 thirds plus 3 thirds. Each one of those is a supergiant 1. That's 1. That's 1. Ah! That looks orange, right? Sure, Mr. Corcoran. That looks orange. Anyway, 2/3 and an extra third. So that's 2 and 1/3. And pretty soon you'll get to the point where you won't even, hopefully, you won't even need that. Someone will say, what is 3/4 plus 2/4? Well, 3 plus 2, it's fourths, so 3 plus 2 is 5/4. And then I remember 5/4, I have 1, so it's 1 and 1/4. And then you won't, I mean, eventually you won't need to do all this, but this is our activity in 4th grade that gets you ready to do this sort of thing in 5th grade. Cool. All right, so I've done that. Oh, I did want to show you multiplication, though. I think what I'll do is I'll do a little, maybe something to draw attention to it, because this is the most, of the ways to do it, multiplying a whole number times a unit fraction is more sophisticated. So how many do I have? I have 7 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a third. A whole number, 7 is a whole number, times a unit fraction. So that's 7/3. All right, and orange. 7/3, 7/3. Boop. Okay. This is that, and this equals that. Okay. All right. So I'll take a. I'll be taking a photograph of the finished version of this, but those are the steps in completing fractions greater than 2, aka M44 and M45. All right. Aloha. Au revoir.